Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today, once again, another big weather report coming your way. We've got some powerful cold front activity that's crossed the New South Wales and South Australia states, and it's now moving into the southeastern parts of Queensland, or the southern parts of Queensland. That's going to be driving some very heavy rainfall for northeastern parts of New South Wales and southeastern parts of Queensland early this coming week. We're also going to be talking about some heavy rain that's forecast to develop over central Queensland. We've also got to be talking about that cold snap that's currently underway across Victoria and New South Wales. Temperatures have plummeted overnight. We'll also take a quick look at Western Australia, where a powerful cold front is on the forecast there later on this coming week. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you haven't already, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. Starting things off with this big cold front that's trailing across New South Wales at this time. It looks pretty mean. You can see a lot of clouds streaming into the northeastern parts of New South Wales at this time, and behind it you can see this low-level cloud here, which is driving an icy start to your Sunday morning. Currently temperatures as cold as -5 degrees Celsius over parts of Victoria and New South Wales, and it's low single digits across quite a lot of Victoria and mid to high single digits across a lot of New South Wales. This is just a taste of what's to come tomorrow. Going to be bitterly cold as well. It's a freezing start to July, that's for sure, but a little bit more on that later on in the video. We're more concerned about this heavy rainfall that's going to be occurring over the northern parts of New South Wales and the southeastern parts of Queensland over the coming couple of days. What's going to be happening is these showers and storms will be moving across ahead of that cold front line. They're going to be weakening off and slowing down in terms of their forward motion over the coming 12 to 24 hours, and behind it there'll also be some moderate to heavy falls in the wake of this system. But what I'm most concerned about is this cold front separating into a low pressure system somewhere between Lord Howe Island or Norfolk Island and the Queensland, New South Wales coastline. That's what the forecast models are suggesting is going to be happening. This trough is going to separate itself from the cold front at least sometime late Monday or early Tuesday morning, and that's going to be providing a bit of a rain event to the southeastern parts of Queensland and to the agricultural and coal mining communities south of Rockhampton. We're going to be looking at light to moderate rainfall with isolated pockets of heavy falls here and there beginning from Tuesday as this low pressure system wraps itself up offshore from the southeast Queensland coastline. Now, this is only part one to the weather forecast. There are moderate to heavy falls across this part of southeastern Queensland, predominantly the Sunshine Coast, but even further inland as well could be seeing accumulations up to 50 millimetres. It is still the Sunshine Coast and areas north of Brisbane and the Gold Coast that we're expecting this heavy rainfall to occur, and it will be heavy at times, especially through Tuesday afternoon and into early Tuesday evening, when the rainfall will start to ease off. Wednesday, not really expecting too much more in the way of rainfall, just a couple of heavy showers here and there, and a couple of gusty winds as well expected throughout the course of Wednesday. But this heavy rainfall could be giving way to falls in the next 5 days, up to 50 millimetres across inland parts of southeastern Queensland, around Rolleston and south of Taroom and Emerald. We're expecting accumulations maxing out at about 70 millimetres on this forecast here from the eastern reserve. The GFS a lot more conservative with the amount of rainfall, but that's mostly because it's a lower resolution forecast model. The Axis G3 also pretty conservative in terms of rainfall, but they've got the majority of the rainfall happening around the coastline, and you can see that here. The low pressure system is going to be a little bit further away from the coastline, and from Tuesday afternoon onwards it's just going to be moderate to heavy showers streaming ashore through Tuesday and then into Wednesday, easing off by Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. I'll just zoom out to get a better picture of the weather scene out here, but the rainfall continuing to early Thursday morning, and from the Axis G3, 2 days of moderate to heavy showers. It's going to end up with 104 or 105 millimetres around here just offshore from the Gold Coast. Now, of course, this is a forecast and things can and will change, but the Axis G3 calling for the majority of the rainfall to be along the coastline. The eastern relief, however, still calling for a lot of rainfall along the coastline. The Gold Coast is going to pick up 50 millimetres either way, but they're calling for a lot more rainfall further inland. That's because the low pressure system up here is a lot stronger and it's not dragging out as much moisture as what the Axis G3 is saying. Either way, they're still very close together in terms of the amount of rainfall that they are forecasting. I shouldn't be making out to be a big difference and a lot of uncertainty, because they are neck and neck in terms of how much rainfall is expected. In short, along the Sunshine Coast, the Brisbane coastline and the Gold Coast, expect up to 50 millimetres of rainfall between Tuesday and late Wednesday evening, and there will be pockets that pick up to 120 millimetres of rainfall as well. There shouldn't be any higher accumulations than 120 millimetres, but just be warned that there is the chance of some pretty significant rainfall accumulations here. Inland communities as well, south of Emerald and Rolleston, also got the chance of 50 to 60 millimetres of rainfall, but they're more going to be sitting between that 20 and 40 millimetre threshold, and the majority of that will be falling on Tuesday Thursday as well. So it looks like it's going to be a wet day for a location south of the line from Jerisha across to Emerald, Dingo and Rockhampton, and that would include areas around Gladstone, Bundaberg, and then onto the Sunshine Coast and the coal mining communities inland in this part of Queensland. Not forgetting New South Wales as well, they're also expecting a good helping of rainfall here for locations between Taree up towards Coffs Harbour. We're looking at a maximum of 130 millimetres here. This is just going to be from showers being dragged up by the weather event, and they're not going to be easing off for the foreseeable future, to be honest. It's just going to be non-stop rain right through the forecast period, and that's starting from about today as well. So just be warned, it's going to be a wet week and a wet weekend as well for this part of northeastern New South Wales, especially along the coastline. Some heavy showers expected, but the rainfall shouldn't penetrate too far inland. The majority of this on the forecast here over the next 5 days, this 20 millimetres or so, is going to be falling from the cold front that's currently streaming across here. And just take a look at the radar imagery. You can see that this rainfall has well and truly started here. It's bringing those temperatures down. It's bringing those winds up. We've got some heavy falls here and around in some locations. They're blowing through Newcastle, Tamworth, and now they're across to Armidale at this time, just outside of radar range, but you can see some heavy showers currently moving through around Grafton and Coffs Harbour. Looks like there could be a little bit of rainfall starting to occur through that area, though this does look a little bit like a bit of a radar glitch here, but we'll be keeping an eye on things nonetheless. Some strong winds as well ahead of this front. I mean, inland we're looking at winds averaging 20 kilometres an hour, gusting up towards 50 kilometres an hour as well, so just a heads up, wind gusts will likely be quite elevated throughout the course of today. That's a lot of talk for northeastern New South Wales and southeastern Queensland. If I've left anything unanswered, then please do leave it in the comment section down below. I'll go forward to getting back to all of your questions throughout the course of today. While we're on the topic of Queensland, we're just going to take a couple of minutes to talk about the rainfall up in far north Queensland, expecting quite a good amount of rainfall over the course of the next 10 days. In fact, up to 100 millimetres is possible. And I cited a comment yesterday about how the rain has been pretty non-stop around Cairns and the Cassowary Coast and the Daintree Rainforest. It's been pretty non-stop over the past week, and I mean, I don't blame them. They're definitely fed up with it. A couple of showers throughout the course of today, and then it's going to be relatively dry conditions until Thursday by the looks of things, when a couple of showers will pipe up. Some heavier rainfall expected Friday and Saturday. In fact, Saturday morning they're going to be waking to quite a lot of rainfall for locations between Cairns and Townsville. The rainfall easing off throughout the course of Sunday and Monday, but still hanging around for some of those locations. And over the next 10 days, they are expecting a good helping of rainfall up here. All of this steady shower activity, this steady moderate shower activity up to 150 millimetres is possible outside of Innisfail and Tully. Cairns itself expecting 40 millimetres, and up around Port Douglas and the Daintree, they're expecting about 100 to 110 millimetres of rainfall. Reciprocated amongst the Access G3 forecast as well. They're not calling for as much rainfall, but they're still calling for a similar thing in the forecast. The GFS calling for a huge swathe of rainfall up here, which could equate to a very significant fall in some locations, or in one or two locations here, but they're only calling for 60 millimetres. I say that's because of model resolution. But yeah, that's enough for far north Queensland. In short, a little bit of rain coming later next week. Hopefully a couple of dry days coming earlier this week, though, to start off July. Over in the central parts of Australia as well, this is certainly worth talking about. Central Queensland and the north-eastern corner of South Australia, they've got a lot of rainfall on the cards here. Take a look at this. The GFS expecting up to 70 millimetres of rainfall. The ECMWF model rather calling for up to 80 or 90 millimetres of rainfall. In fact, a little pocket of 110 millimetres there, and this is through South Australia and central Queensland. The Access G3 also calling for a very healthy helping of rainfall over the next 10 days across this part of Queensland and New South Wales. In short, looks like we've got at least 50 millimetres on the way for some of the driest parts of Australia outside of Lake Eyre and Birdsville in Queensland. Some very heavy rainfall is on the cards. Now, what's going to be driving this? Well, from Thursday, we're expecting a low pressure area to develop over central parts of Australia, and this will take its time to develop and draw some moisture out of the ground, and it won't be until about Friday, late Friday evening, when we start to see some showers and storms pop up in this part of South Australia, Queensland and New South Wales. There'll be very isolated showers and thunderstorms throughout the course of Friday, but still, if they get themselves over a location, they could be dropping 50 millimetres or more, so some very heavy rainfall is possible as well throughout the course of Friday night. The rainfall will become a little bit more predictable and steady throughout the course of Saturday. Some more light to moderate falls expected over central Queensland and into central South Australia as well. all driven by this high pressure system that's going to jam a low pressure trough between one high pressure system over here and another one down here, and that's going to be causing this rain to be really stagnant and not moving at all. And it's going to be a very slow moving weather event, in fact barely moving from Friday through to about Saturday or Sunday. In fact, even into Monday we're still talking about that moderate to heavy rainfall throughout throughout parts of central Queensland. Now, it's not so much the agricultural districts where they're growing crops, it's more so the pastoral districts inland in central Queensland where we're going to be talking about the heaviest of the rainfall. I mean, you can see this on the Eastern Weather model here. It is south of Longreach, but it is still very far inland where we're talking about this very heavy rainfall here. 100 millimetres is a lot of rainfall. They are currently experiencing some pretty dry conditions in this part of Queensland. They do need a little bit of rainfall, but they certainly don't need 100 millimetres. This is a huge amount of rainfall to be falling, and you can see here it's going to be spiking soil moisture values to, what's this? It looks like triple or quadruple the regular value, about 30 to 40 millimetres above the normal values here. That's about triple as wet as they normally are on the soil moisture anomalies map. And yes, soil moisture values themselves will be at 100% in this part of South Australia, and they'll be very high in parts of Queensland as well. In fact, we're looking at close to 100% for a lot of locations here. It is much needed rainfall, but this amount of rainfall is raising a lot of concerns for me. It's going to be causing some significant flooding to all the travellers and grey nomads in this part of Queensland, South Australia, and even into the Northern Territory and the northwestern parts of New South Wales. Roads will be closed and there will be major flooding from a weather event like this. The Bureau of Meteorology will be issuing flood watches from this weather event probably as soon as Thursday or Friday, so keep your eye out for those because they'll be giving all the information out in a weather event like this. I'm not familiar with river names and even town names in this part of Central Australia, so the Bureau of Meteorology will be your best source of information there. But in terms of the rainfall that's expected to be falling, 100 millimetres is possible. The majority of locations will pick up between 20 and 40 millimetres of rainfall, but there will be pockets south of Longreach and Windera here that are expecting much higher accumulations between 50 and 100 millimetres. It's reciprocated amongst the forecast models. I did say a few days ago that this was bogus on the weather forecast and I didn't think a weather event like this will happen, but I mean, it's a strange weather event that we're seeing, but it is very likely at this stage. And some very good rainfall as well expected for the Mount Lofty ranges outside of Adelaide as well, by the looks of things from the Access G3 model next weekend. It looks like parts of South Australia into the agricultural and the pastoral districts of South Australia could be receiving some good rainfall. In short, the desert will bloom, roads will be washed away, and there will be major flooding in this part of central Queensland, parts of South Australia and New South Wales as well. So just a heads up on this weather event. It looks like it is going to be a strong one. Just before we head over west, we're going to end things off by talking about the cold snap that's currently experiencing Victoria or currently visiting Victoria and New South Wales, I should say. I'm going to flick things over to temperature. There's that powerful cold front that's moved through. It's bringing temperatures much lower than they usually are. We've woken to temperatures -5 for Thredbo top station this morning, and they're likely a little bit colder as the sun was rising this morning, probably about -6 or -7. I haven't checked yet. For Falls Creek, we're still at -4. Mount Buller also -3 degrees. They're significantly below zero this morning, and it's not going to get much warmer throughout the course of today. By early this evening, we're going to be looking at temperatures plunging well below zero, and by tomorrow morning, we're looking at a night probably of around -5 or -6 degrees Celsius outside of Jindabyne and Thredbo. It's going to be bitterly cold there as we start the first day of July. Temperatures will be a long way below zero in those mountainous communities. So if you are hiking or planning on hiking, tomorrow's certainly not the day to be doing it. Get yourself to a hut or get yourself into somewhere that is warm, because temperatures are going to be freezing, and those blizzard conditions will also continue throughout the course of today as well. Tuesday morning will be a little bit of relief, but still those sub-zero temperatures extending far in towards Victoria as well. We're looking at a big swathe of temperatures well below zero, -2 to -4 degrees in the mountainous areas. Omeo expecting -4, Thredbo and Perisher Valley also expecting -4, but I do find that Thredbo can be a couple of degrees colder than what the forecast says, so I would not be surprised if we approach negative double digits in some parts of these mountainous valleys in New South Wales. It's going to be bitterly cold, to put it that way. Into Victoria as well, temperatures approaching 0 degrees Celsius across a lot of the farming communities. It's going to be a big frost day Monday and Tuesday. There's going to be a little bit of relief throughout the course of Wednesday. Conditions not likely to be as cold, but for Victoria and South Australia, in the wake of this big Arctic air mass, they will be freezing. So it's going to be South Australia's turn to cop the really cold conditions. Victoria, however, looking a little bit better, and Tasmania suffering under this higher pressure system. We're talking about conditions plummeting to -5 degrees Celsius there as well. It's going to be freezing. No relief from the ocean. All of the winds will be offshore that morning, so conditions are going to be freezing wherever you are around Tasmania Wednesday morning. And these cold conditions making it as far north as the Northern Territory, likely going to be a bit of reprieve from a cold front that's going to be impacting Western Australia early Tuesday. For parts of Western Australia, the cold conditions should be swept out of there by Thursday morning, but still bitterly cold conditions across a lot of South Australia, Victoria and New South Wales. And just taking a look at this weather map here outside of Tasmania, it looks like some parts of South Australia, the opal mining communities outside of Minterby, could actually be the coldest parts of the nation come Thursday morning. Conditions looking a lot more milder with an onshore breeze for New South Wales and Victoria. So yeah, it's just a little wrap up on the temperature situation across parts of Victoria, New South Wales and Tasmania. It's looking freezing over there, so make sure you do rug up. Going to zoom into Western Australia. Like I did say, we've got a little bit of a cold front coming through early Tuesday morning. It's not that powerful. It's only going to be a little bit of rainfall here and there for the Perth metro area. A lot of rainfall still expected for the southwest capes. In fact, up to 30 millimetres is possible for areas around Walpole, Windy Harbour, Pemberton, and then across towards Albany, but the rainfall really not going to be that heavy at all in clearing out of the Perth metro area by about lunchtime. But it's going to be later on in the forecast period come around. It's actually been brought forward a couple of days. Saturday the 6th of July, I did mention this a couple of days ago, we're going to be looking at a powerful cold front and a very unorthodox cold front as well, moving through towards the WA coastline. A big swathe of heavy rainfall up in the north around Exmouth and Carnarvon and Coral Bay, that sort of area, and then sweeping in towards Perth. Not too much rainfall by the looks of things, but by Sunday morning, the majority of it clearing out. Some heavy rainfall still possible there, and a few showers in the wake of this system also possible throughout the course of Sunday. But it looks like Western Australia spared from what looks like a very intimidating weather forecast here. And if we were to take a look at 10-day rainfall, it's not actually that high around the Perth metro area. A lot of it actually falling from the cold front on Tuesday, but still a further 15 or 20 millimetres possible from that cold front. That's expected next weekend on Sunday the 7th of July. And spots around the southwest capes expecting 30 millimetres from that weather system as well. But just a heads up, a little bit of a powerful cold front is expected to move through. It's going to be a very windy one, that's for sure, later on Saturday and then in towards Sunday. We're going to be talking about wind gusts around the Perth metro area averaging 70 kilometres an hour and peak wind gusts around the southwest capes up to 120 kilometres an hour. So in terms of winds, it's certainly going to be all muscle. But rainfall here, I'm really not seeing significant rainfall coming through to the Perth metro area. There will be pockets of heavy rainfall, but it doesn't look like this is going to be a wet cold front come Sunday morning. The GFS not expecting any rainfall basically for the Perth metro area from this weather system. It looks like the cold front just snaps itself in two, and the majority of the rainfall flies north and then the rest of it flies south, in fact misses all of Western Australia. Even the Axis G3 not on board with much rainfall. It looks like it just disintegrates before it gets to the Perth metro area. Some parts of the northern wheat belt are likely to receive some good rainfall, but the rest of the state, it's really uncertain in terms of what rainfall they do end up getting, and 10-day accumulations only looking good for parts of the northern wheat belt, around 20 millimetres there. The central wheat belt and the Great Southern not really expecting more than 10 millimetres, and they do desperately need more than 10 millimetres at this time, and more woes for people in the Murchison that are just fed up with this rainfall as well. Up to 40 millimetres of rainfall is still expected to come through from this cold front later on in the forecast period. Around Shark Bay, it's going to be higher at around 80 millimetres. Like I said, a very unorthodox cold front. We typically see this once or twice a year, but to be seeing this type of weather system, when we've had this about 5 times this winter already, where we see the northern or the central parts of the state and the northern parts of the wheat belt and into the Murchison and even into the Gascoyne get absolutely drenched with rainfall. It's not anything new to us this winter season, so it's very, very strange, and it is a very unorthodox cold front to be moving through into the West Australian coastline and around the Perth metro area. It's highly unusual to be receiving such little rainfall from a cold front of that magnitude. But yeah, it's happening, and it looks like it is certain in the forecast. The models all very congruent with each other, and they know exactly what they want. So yeah, we'll just have to roll with it, and more information will be coming out on that cold front as it draws closer. Probably about Wednesday and Thursday, I'll have a very good idea on what's going on. So for West Australian viewers, tune into the update then, and I'll be giving you a very detailed forecast on what's actually expected from that cold front. That basically does it. Another very long-winded forecast update. There is just so much going on around the Australian nation right now in terms of weather. It's wet, it's cold, it's snowing, it's windy, it is everything around the Australian nation this morning, and there's going to be more coming on throughout the course of this week. And if you're enjoying the weather updates, then please do consider leaving a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support is greatly appreciated. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and their support is so important to the channel, and I could not run this show without them. So I'm very grateful to their support and their ongoing support as well. Thank you so much to all of the names on screen right now. That is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.